this Kansas City Chiefs story. I'm like, what's going on here? Patrick Mahomes says, if this is the last ride, you would never know for Travis Kelce. Instantly, I started laughing. And my mind goes back to, I think the last time I hosted, I said, Chiefs aren't going to the playoffs next year, guys. And, you know, I get these yahoos from Kansas City sending me stuff on social media. Got like 2 million views. I'm a hater. I'm an idiot. Blah, 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 blah. Well, I got some news for Patrick Mahomes, and it's not great. Let's play the audio. Here's Patrick Mahomes talking about Travis Kelce saying, this is probably not his last ride.
If it's the last ride, you would never know. I mean, the way he's talking about football, the way he's talking about working and trying to be even better this year than he was last year. I mean, he's not. It doesn't seem like a guy that it's his last ride. Like he's tired of the job. I mean, he's in here, he's working, and I know his body feels good. I think it feels better than even last year before going into last season. Just because I think he's motivated to go out there and have an even better year than he had this last.
Last ride? That was 6 months ago in the Super Bowl. It's over for the Chiefs, guys. You had a great run. And I know you're saying, Jay, you're hating. Let me just remind you, Tom Brady won in 2004. He had, I believe, 3 Super Bowls at the time. It took him a decade to win another one. This stuff is not easy. Just because you have Mahomes and Reed, it doesn't guarantee you a spot in the Super Bowl. I mean, again, history's just a guide here. But it took Brady a decade before winning another. They were favored against the Giants in 2 more Super Bowl trips and lost both of them. We know recent history of Super Bowl losers ain't pretty. Go ask the Niners, who fell apart injury-wise after losing that overtime game to the Chiefs. Super Bowl loser. Chiefs lost a few years ago in the Super Bowl. Chiefs beat the Eagles. I'm sorry. Chiefs beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl. And what happened to the Eagles? They fell apart the next year. There is a bit of a curse for the Super Bowl loser. And, oh, by the way, 12-0 in one-score games last year. Good luck duplicating that one. And, you know, I've got to mention it. I know Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are not going to like to hear this, but in the final 2 games of last year, Travis Kelce looked lost. I don't want to use the word washed. That's a little bit harsh, but he had 2 for 19, 2 catches for 19 yards against Buffalo. And there are a lot of highlights, or I guess I should say lowlights, from the Super Bowl of Kelce kind of going through the motions when they were getting their butts kicked. He ended up with 4 catches for 39 yards. He's starting to look his age. What do you want? Like, that's what happens when you get old. The guy's a Hall of Fame lock. We know that. He's had a great career, but endings are not always pretty. And I'm just saying, this whole talk about a last ride, I think that was the last ride. They were going for the three-peat, and they failed. They got their butts kicked. And this idea that they're going to go 12-0 in one-score games again, that's not happening. You know, the offensive line has a lot of questions. The wide receiver room has a lot of questions. I'm not as big of a believer in the Chiefs next year. And, you know, I got to say, I don't like the Raiders a lot, but they got better. You look at the schedule here for the Chiefs, like right out the gate. You got the tough game against the Chargers. Then you got the Eagles, the defending Super Bowl champs who whooped you. You got to lay up with the Giants, but then it's Lamar Jackson, skip a game. Jared Goff, that ain't going to be easy. You got to face Jaden Daniels. Got to go to Buffalo for seemingly the 10th straight year. Folks, that is a tough schedule. I'm calling for 8 or 9 wins and no playoffs. I know I'm in the minority. And Jay, you were so wrong about OKC. Fine. Rachel Nichols will yell at me in a minute if she wants. You can't bat 1,000 when you're in this spot. But all the numbers to me line up with Chiefs. And if all you've got is, well, we've got Reed and Mahomes, fine. I'll take that bet.
Okay. So I just had an aha moment here where this makes so much more sense to me. And I see so many more parallels with J-Mac as well as Nick Ray. Now, I know this is obviously a Kansas City Chiefs video, so I know there's going to be plenty of Nick Ray fans here because, you know, he's number 1 Kansas City Chiefs fan of America, so I totally understand that. But when you hear what J-Mac is doing, and I just did a couple clips recently with Nick Ray, and their minds work so similarly, and it's not a surprise that they're also both gamblers, and they're also both all about the numbers and what the other bettors have to say. And they view that they view it through that lens more so than through the lens of this is the way the game works. This is the way how games unfold. This is how these things work. And I think you need both. I think you need a hybrid between someone who understands the numbers, who can put some of the history in context and whatnot, but then also understand the X's and O's, the laziest way to say it, but I'm just going to be lazy right now, just the X's and O's. And it's just so fascinating to me that when you don't really have a deep conclusion about a specific team per se, I feel as though that you really rely on historical context and stats. And when you start saying like, oh, things don't do well for Super Bowl losers, and you start railing off that, it's like, to me that really means nothing to me. And I'm so consistent on this because I fought the very Kansas City Chiefs fans because they kept saying, because when I was looking at this season, last season that is, and I was like, oh, like you're having, like these are close wins. I don't think this team is as dominant as they were in the past, et cetera, et cetera. And when Nick Wright, anyone would say, oh, they're the best team in the NFL, I'd be like, I don't think it's really fair, because Nick would constantly say, they're clearly on the tier of their own, and then he would put all the other teams. And I would say, no. I think the Chiefs are a top team, but I think they're on the same level as, and whatever the team, depending on what week it was, the Bills, the Eagles, whoever it may be. And a lot of Chiefs fans would come at me and say, that's ridiculous. They're the reigning Super Bowl champions, 2-time champions, blah, 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 blah. And I would say, that means nothing to me. I don't care what you did in 2022. It means nothing to me. 2023, that wasn't last year. Are you the same team that you were last year? And when I say it means nothing to me, it's probably a slight exaggeration. It means very little to me. Very little. But when people keep relying on history as a reference point, it's like, what does that matter? Like, and it's funny because I hear him talking. He's like, Tom Brady didn't win. And it's like, I guarantee you, bro, the people that are watching this video, the Kansas City Chiefs fans, they don't care what Tom Brady did in that regard. They're like, well, who cares? That was Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. We got Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Tom Brady never did, insert whatever you want. And again, if you want to talk about teams that have lost Super Bowls, it's like you're naming all these other teams, but then you didn't name the Kansas City Chiefs. What did the Kansas City Chiefs do when they lost their Super Bowl, when they got rocked and humiliated in the Super Bowl? They bounced back and went to an AFC Championship game. I think that was the year that they lost to the Cincinnati Bengals, if memory serves me correctly. So why use a random team that's not the Kansas City Chiefs? You're using a team like the 49ers, who haven't won a Super Bowl in like, 30-something, however many years, a lot. So like, why? Who cares? You want to know what they did with Brock Purdy or what they did with Jimmy Garoppolo? I am 1,000,000% positive that the vast majority of the NFL world believes that Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and Spags are better coach-quarterback combination than any of these other recent teams that lost. And you use the Philadelphia Eagles as a reference point. They lost both their coordinators. I guarantee you that Eagles team would have been better. But they still made it to the playoffs. They still went 11-1 or whatever the heck it was. They beat the Kansas City Chiefs on the road. Now, I think that record was misleading. I do not think the Eagles were as good as what their record showed, but they still pulled it off. They still got to the playoffs. And they got beat pretty good by the Bucs, no doubt. They were not healthy. Jalen Hurts dislocated his finger. A.J. Brown wasn't even playing. So like it was, not a good game for them, but they had two coordinators that were fired. One of them fired throughout the season. And so that was a mess. That's not what's going on. If the Kansas City Chiefs lost in the Super Bowl and lost exactly how they did, and Andy Reid was not Andy Reid, he was, some other coach, and they lost their great offensive coordinator, and, Spags is now the head coach of the Jets or whoever, then I could understand. Then I would say, yeah, man, this is kind of concerning. You're losing your play caller. You're losing the brains of your defense. You promoted some guy who's like, yeah, there's some energy behind him, but like, I don't know, he's not Spags. Oh, you hired the defensive coordinator for the, Penn State or something. I don't know, insert some random college team, Ohio State. It's like, okay, I guess. But like, I don't know how he's going to be in the NFL. We know who Spags is going to be in the NFL. We know who Andy Reid's going to be in the NFL. We know who Patrick Mahomes is as a quarterback. So even if they ran it back exactly as is, defense same, let's say that even the O-line got even worse. But now they're healthier with receivers. I still think, thinking that they're only going to win 8 games, The only argument that you can make, from my viewpoint, of the Kansas City Chiefs not making the playoffs is if the teams around them really take leaps. Bo Nix truly ends up being a top 5, just a top 10 quarterback. And that roster, they have a couple injury-prone guys. They all stay healthy. Justin Herbert finally proves to everyone, I am a legitimate top 5 quarterback in the NFL. Stop with this nonsense. I've had a coach and a roster that has been a disaster. That's a thing of the past. Let's get after it. And even Geno Smith and the Raiders are like, yo, bro. Like, PFF had Geno Smith as a top 10 quarterback. And Chip Kelly's like, guys, I may have not been a good head coach, but I am an awesome offensive coordinator. And Pete Carroll's going to have that defense rocking. He's an awesome head coach. He's proven that Super Bowl winner, back-to-back Super Bowl appearances. He reignites that. We're winning games. And this division now just becomes an absolute suffocating gauntlet. And the Lions don't have any type of step back. Ben Johnson, who? Who cares? We got Dan Campbell. Jaden Daniels, no step back whatsoever. He's ready to light this league on fire. He's like, everyone keeps saying that I'm the next Lamar Jackson. Huh? I'm the next Jaden Daniels. Josh Allen, the Buffalo Bills, those games are always going to be brutal between those two teams no matter what happens. So it's just like coin flip for that game. But it's just like, I don't know. Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson, I think they'll be great again. Week 4. Philadelphia Eagles, again, who knows? Maybe they take a step back. They lost They lost their offensive coordinator. Who knows? I don't know. Eagles aren't necessarily known for starting off hot. They didn't even start off hot last year when they ended up being the best team in the NFL. So, like, who knows? Who knows? So, yeah. I mean, if all of the teams around them can, especially specifically in their division, take a big step forward, then sure. But, like, they won a lot of those one-score games, and I think some of them were the football gods falling upon them. And I think that's fair. You always need a little bit of that. But then a lot of it is also the Kansas City Chiefs execution. And it's not just kind of just how stats work, the law of averages of like, yeah, this just is what it is and it's going to balance itself out. It's not hard to imagine that on a spectrum, a team like Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs as a whole are going to be better at winning close games compared to other teams. To me, that is the power of coaching more than anything, more than Mahomes, more than because it's so much about is execution and putting your players in positions to succeed and be prepared. Look no further than the Super Bowl in 2023 when the team, the players on the 49ers didn't even understand the overtime rules in the Super Bowl. Like, that's coaching, that's preparation. Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and everyone else on the Chiefs understood the rules. They understood what was at stake here, what was at play here. Okay? So to me, that's a testament to Andy Reid and Spags of being able to deliver the defense at the right time, forcing the ball back, forcing a 3-and-out, forcing a long 4th and long, 3-and-long, whatever the situation may be. And then also now having a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes who understands in those close games, it's not about winning. It's about not losing oftentimes. It's don't make that mistake. How many times have we seen even great quarterbacks who can just let it rip, who can ball, who can be great, who have plenty of comeback wins, and you would trust them with the ball, but it's not that they failed. It's not like that they just had an incompletion and, now it's turnover on downs. More often than not, you see a mistake. You're like, why did you do that? You didn't need to make that throw. Very rare do you have that moment, Patrick Mahomes. Does it exist? Of course. But what's made the Chiefs so great over the years is their lack of mistakes. Now, to be fair, last season, it felt like they made more mistakes than normally, especially Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes was averaging like an interception a game for the first 7-8 games. And they were bad. They were just concrete, like, whoa, what the heck is this? What am I watching right now? And that's beyond just the roster. I will not just say, it's because of his receiver. No, he was making bad decisions and bad throws, and he knows it. He knows it. It wasn't just because he was, the receivers. Like, that's not what it was. Which makes it even better because then it becomes fixable. You're not reliant on the weapons around you. But I also do believe that the weapons around him will be better. I do think the run game will be better. I mean, his receivers should be healthier. I mean, using the 49ers as an example, where you have Brock Purdy and Shanahan and a team that just collapsed with injuries. I think they had the most Pro Bowlers, the most snaps missed by Pro Bowlers. There was like some weirdly worded stat I remember, but essentially they had the best players miss the most amount of snaps out of anyone else compared to last season. And it was like on like a snap basis for whatever reason. They missed a lot is what it is. Their team obviously fell apart. So like I'm not gonna compare that to the Chiefs. And when the Chiefs dealt with injuries, they still won, and they won way better than obviously any of these other teams. They won better than every other team except for the Philadelphia Eagles. So this confidence, this doubt, I'm just not so sure I 100% see it. Not to mention, you talk about the Patriots losing in the Super Bowl, and they lost both those times to the Giants. Like, he's a betting man. He understands this. For the most part, those were statistical flukes. Part of it was great coaching. Spags shut down that New England Patriots offense. I mean, that was the power of Spags. I mean, that was remarkable. That was a masterclass. That undefeated team was just putting up just cartoonish level points, man. NFL blitz level, arcade numbers there. And that was Spags, but it was also a statistical fluke. Even with Spags, and Chiefs fans will know that I think Spags is as great as it gets in terms of defensive coaching. The Giants, both teams, they played the Patriots 10 times. The Patriots are winning 7 out of 10 times, 8 out of 10 times. Yeah, I fully believe that. I 100% believe that. So it's just like things absolutely could have gone differently. Tom Brady lost Super Bowls that he should have won, and he won Super Bowls that he should have lost. That's how football works. So where is the coin going to land for someone like Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs? I have no idea. I really have no idea. None. I really don't. But like the confidence that this team is now just going to be an 8-win team. I mean, like, try to think about it. Like, where do these 8 wins come from? You have to imagine they're going to win at least like one tough game against the teams that we know have been great. The Eagles, the Ravens, the Bills. Are there any other like clear cut? I guess those are really the main ones, and the Commanders, I suppose. But even that, you're still having a second-year quarterback. Really, the only ones that you can truly be confident who have stood the test of time so far are the Eagles, the Ravens, and the Bills. So let's say you win one of them. I guess J-Mac's thinking that he's going to lose all of them. Like, are you're going to beat... You can't beat the Raiders at least once. You're not going to be able to beat the... Like, you're going to lose to the Colts, to Daniel Jones. I don't... I'm trying to think, like, where are these wins and losses then coming from? The Titans, Cam Ward. I mean, C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans. They already beat them multiple times, and you think like I don't know. I understand if you want to say, listen, I don't think the Chiefs are going to win the division. I think that's fair. Again, I'm not saying that I believe that, but I'm just saying, like, I'm trying to think of like a realistic take about the Chiefs, of them no longer having the same level of dominance as they once had. I think that is a fair take to have. But 8 wins, it's like that's, to me, is just such an extreme. Especially when you look at it, if you want to stick with Vegas, it's like all the over-unders are essentially 11.5 for all the division winners. The Chiefs, the Eagles, the Ravens, the Bills. So Vegas is predicting all of these teams of being around like the 10 to 12 range or so. So as long as the Chiefs just kind of maintain what they've been able to do in some of these tougher games, and still be able, I mean, like they're still going to outcoach the Jags, the Titans, the Texans, the Cowboys. I mean, like there's still so many like big circle like I'm going to take my coach and my quarterback over anyone else on this roster. Like, yeah, I get it. You might on paper have a better roster, but like, the Ravens had a better roster than the Chiefs in 23. Not a doubt in my mind. Truly. But the Chiefs were like, knew actually how to play. Travis Kelce didn't have a great year in 23, but he stepped up huge, made huge catches. Spags dialed up a gem against the hottest, one of the most dominant offenses the Baltimore Ravens had going and held them to 10. Like, that's how that has consistently and reliably worked. Again, if Spags is no longer there, he's a head coach now somewhere else, I could understand. You can't bank on that. How is this new defensive coordinator going to contain Lamar Jackson? It's like we would say, I have no idea. None. So no matter how you slice it, because I keep trying to find the path forward to like an 8-win team, 9-win team, and it's like you'd have to really bank on Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and Spags as not being that great and being more heavily carried by, again, football gods, the roster construction. Like, you would really be downplaying what they offer. And again, I cannot get there. I see plenty of tough games, but then I also see some clear wins. And if they just even split the division, like, which is obviously kind of like the bare minimum of what you're kind of hoping your team to be able to do. Then you got the Cowboys, the Colts, the Titans, the Jags, the Giants. I don't know, man. I'll remain firm on this. The only way that I truly see it is if all three teams, the Chargers, the Broncos, and the Raiders, not only take a true step forward. Like, I think some of those teams will take a step forward, but I mean like we are now the team. Like, we are now the top team in not only the AFC but the NFL. Like, we are real contenders. Like, we are ballers. We are the Bengals, Ravens, Bills, Chiefs, Eagles. Like, we are those guys. And now you have to play us twice, 3 times, because it's twice. Like, right? Like, then I can understand. Then it's like, all right, you got 6 games worth of playing the Ravens and the Bills. Like, that's brutal, undeniably, right? Like, it's like, okay, that's a lot. If that happens, for sure. If not, then no. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Kansas City Chiefs? Do you think they are done? It's funny, I'm looking at this title. Why Mahomes, Kelce, and Chiefs are done being contenders? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.